Day 11 of Bibliotherapy, the healing power of reading. As always, hydrate. 15-minute timer. Through therapy, we can begin to unpick negative thought loops and welcome change, even though it almost always involves a loss of the familiar. And this loss can be painful, making the work of therapy harder. I wanted Tatiana to know that she was not alone in her predicament. Others had walked this road, excuse me, and had done so with courage and purpose amidst the challenges of living with cancer. I suggested Paul Calantini's book, When Breath Becomes Air, the memoir of a neurosurgeon coming to terms with terminal lung cancer diagnosis. This was the book we returned to in the majority of our sessions, along with Audre Lorde's The Cancer Journals and Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. These books offered insight into the experience of cancer and the complexities it brings in a way that only literature and language can, by offering Tatiana the vocabulary to communicate what she might be going through. Through the stories and experiences of literary characters, we can gain inspiration and insight into our own struggles and find the strength and courage to face our own challenges with greater self-understanding and self-compassion. Conversations with friends and family, or even with a trained therapist, can still fail to recreate the artistic arrangement of language and experience that we can find in a book. Literature does not shy away from subjects that are difficult or painful to talk about, and instead offers a carefully thought through, crafted message to gently awaken the reader to the underlying emotions they might be experiencing. Neurologically, our brains are wired to respond to narratives as stories activate multiple regions of the brain involved in language processing, sensory perception, and emotion regulation. Excuse me. When we hear a story, our brains simulate the experiences of literary characters and allow us to vicariously experience their emotions, thoughts, and actions. All these elements, story, structure, and a willingness to lay bare difficult themes, may be missing in our conversations with family, friends, and our therapists, making it harder for us to connect with them, let alone with ourselves. With the parts of us that went missing, literature has an uncanny ability to do just this, rescuing us when we are at our most vulnerable, bringing us to the shore and reassuring us that we are not alone and that we'll always be supported. I recommended that in addition to reading, Tatiana should journal and reflect on the feelings and observations that emerged. Literary journaling. Tatiana found literary journaling, see pages 56 to 60, to be profoundly cathartic. In her journal, she wrote, "The diagnosis feels like a bomb has exploded in my face. So many emotions, denial, disbelief, shock, anger, fear, sadness. They brought significant pain, occupying different parts of me in different spaces of time. I'm still processing it all. It leaves me overwhelmed and drained. As I find my feet, I'm having to think about what I'll tell the others. The anxiety of telling people. I saw how easily Paul Calantini confided in his friends and family in When Breath Becomes Air, seeing them as allies. And I want to find this confidence, this courage, and this faith in other people, that they are there to help me. I have drawn out a list of things I would like other people to know as a way of managing both my own anxiety and the expectations of others. Please bear with me. I am trying to reconcile myself into this new identity. Please reach out. It makes me feel connected. Please don't ignore my new state. It would be painful. I am going through a lot and need that to be acknowledged. Please don't take it personally if I come across as off with you. It's not you or something you said. I am living through hell. Please share your happy good news. I'd still like to enjoy and celebrate your happiness. Be kind always. We never know what someone else is going through. Dying so young, I could feel Calanthy's soul, the agony he felt of not fulfilling unrealized ambitions as a successful neurosurgeon rang true for me. There's so much I would like to do with my life, to achieve, to celebrate, to share with families and friends. What offered hope is that Calanthy was exploring what would give his life meaning with the little time he had left. And the same question is helping me think more clearly. I found comfort in Graham Greene's words that life was lived in the first 20 years and the remainder was just reflection. Calanthy eloquently puts it, everyone succumbs to finitude. I am not the only one who reaches this plumb perfect state. Most ambitions are either achieved or abandoned. Either way, they belong to the past. The future, instead of the ladder towards the goals of life, flattens out into a perpetual present. Money, status, and all the vanities the preacher of Ecclesiastes described hold so little interest, a chasing after wind indeed. In her journal entries, Tatiana considered how much the experiences of the authors she was reading resonated with her own cancer journey. The dual polarities of I can't go on and I absolutely must go on, along with the sense that nothing had changed and yet everything had changed, perfectly encapsulated her own experience. Tatiana would often find herself returning to Paul Calanthy's memoir when she was feeling low. It persuaded her out of her temporary moments of sadness, knowing that other people had walked this difficult path. In these moments, she was reminded of the unfairness of life and how little of life was in your control. Perhaps it was about surrendering and letting go, both of expectations and of the fear of the unknown. The need to constantly control every micro outcome was suffocating. Surrender was liberating. Inspired by Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, Tatiana decided to incorporate a deep breathing exercise from the book titled Letting Go into her daily routine. It involved inhaling and exhaling, inviting relaxation into her scalp, her face, and her forehead, and then moving on to let her tongue, throat, and shoulders before approaching the back, abdomen, and pelvis, and finishing with the legs and feet. This released tension from her body while leaving her feeling incredibly peaceful. Tatiana also harnessed the power of positive affirmations by repeating Hay's words to herself. I am willing to let go. I release, I let go. I release all tension. I release all fear. I release all anger. I release all guilt. I release all sadness. I let go of all old limitations. I let go, and I am at peace. I'm at peace with myself. I'm at peace with the process of life. I am safe. A combination of calming techniques and Hay's relatable story encouraged Tatiana to reclaim her inner power. The breathwork forced her to focus on the present and reduce the impact of the despairing thoughts inside of her. As Tatiana was an avid reader, I also suggested that she try Will Schwalbe's The End of Your Life book club about a mother-son book club. The titular mother, Marianne Schwalbe, was diagnosed with incurable pancreatic cancer at 73, so she spent her last days with her son, immersed in all the books she had always wanted to read. Inspired, Tatiana created her own book club with her mother and sister so that she could enjoy time with the people she loved most, doing the things she loved most. This led to engaging and intimate discussions. Tatiana felt especially alive and present in those moments. Visualizing alternative futures. Tatiana's relationship with Alexei continued to play out in the background. The more I spoke to Tatiana, the more I felt that the relationship was negatively impacting her. The emotionally unavailable partner, like the emotionally unavailable mother, was the one that Tatiana would, of course, feel the most comfortable with. I asked her to visualize alternative outcomes for the relationship, a visualization technique that renowned future forecaster Jane McConigal guides us through as an exercise called a future scenario in her book, imaginable. McGonagall encourages planning for the future by simulating potential scenarios for situations that we find difficult to navigate. We can mentally time travel into the future in order to vividly imagine alternative endings, although what she refers to as specificity training. This involves focusing on specific details when envisaging our scenarios, so we need to make sure that we build in all 5 senses: sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. And yeah, you can hear my dog barking. In carrying out these simulations in our minds, we can begin to feel more hopeful as we're given the opportunity to experiment with alternative solutions to our problems. Taking an active role in modeling our own futures can reduce the sense of powerlessness we feel, build resilience, and offer a renewed sense of agency to pursue what's most important to us. Visualizing alternative futures, how it works. Visualizing alternative futures or outcomes is exactly what it sounds like. It involves imagining alternative future endings or outcomes for a given situation, no matter how impossible they seem at first. This is a conventional visualization technique that can be used in any form of therapy or coaching and is not a bibliotherapy technique. This technique was inspired by Jane McGonigal, a futurist at the Institute of the Future. She discusses a variety of techniques for creating an optimal future for yourself in her book, Imaginable. Imagining alternative endings is an excellent way to problem solve as well as motivate ourselves to create a future that we desire. It increases both hope and empathy as we learn to acknowledge our needs and act in ways that will allow ourselves to meet these needs. It encourages us to feel the emotions we might need to feel in order to move past a painful event or episode. This form of practicing self-compassion and self-care can truly be life-changing, inspiring, and empowering, and is scientifically proven to build hope pathways in the brain. During my 3rd session with Tatiana, I asked her to imagine alternative outcomes to her existing relationship. I wanted her to recognize that it was within her power to make a change if she was unhappy. At first, she seemed stuck in the past, unable to visualize any alternative future or relationship. She could not carry out the mental time travel required. This is often the case for people who have struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. When it comes to PTSD, the ability to retrieve specific memories from one's past, your autobiographical memory, is important for visualizing one's future. This is because simulating possible future events depends on much of the same brain processes as remembering past events. For example, if someone is planning a vacation to a new city, they can draw on their past experiences of traveling to similar cities in order to construct a mental image of what the trip might be like. This mental simulation can help individuals anticipate potential challenges and opportunities and plan accordingly. In addition, the ability to retrieve specific memories from one's past is also important for developing a sense of identity and personal continuity. People with stronger autobiographical memory abilities are better able to connect their past experiences with their personal and future selves, which can lead to a greater sense of coherence and purpose in life. However, PTSD sufferers, instead of relying on autobiographical memory, tend to rely on an overgeneral memory. For example, a person with an overgeneral memory might recall a negative experience of failing a test, but they would not be able to remember the details of the experience, such as what the test was about, when and where they took it, or what they did to prepare for it. Instead, they may generalize the experience and conclude that they are not good at taking tests. In contrast, a person with a specific memory would be able to recall the details of the experience, including what happened before and after the test, how they felt at the time, and what they learned from the experience. They may acknowledge that they struggled with that particular test, but they would not generalize the experience to all tests. Instead, they would focus on improving their preparation and performance for future tests. According to a 2024 study in the Journal of Clinical Psychological Science, the tendency to rely on overgeneral memory impairs any ability to visualize specific future thinking. Whoops. That's it. See you tomorrow.